Thank you for making it Mathsis4U, and today we'll be looking at completing the square. So, I know we looked at factorization before, but another method in how to solve these quadratic equations is called completing the square. So we're going to get into that information. So usually when they ask you to complete the square, they're asking you to write this original quadratic expression into this form. So all you have to note, A, H, and K are just some values. So these could be coefficients, and this is a constant. It's standing by itself. And the X right here is still representing our variable. Usually A here is the coefficient of 1, but sometimes it can vary and have a different value. So I'm going to show you exactly how to move from this stage to this form. So the first thing that you should note though is if the x squared, or our A term, so let me label them A, B, and C. So look if our A term has a coefficient of 1. If it doesn't have a coefficient of 1, that means you're gonna have to do some reduction or try to simplify the expression by a specific number. So I'll look at one just like that, just to show you the gist of how to do it. So A here has a coefficient of 1, so this means we can move along with solving the question. So next step, remove our C for a while. So you can look at any term with the X variable present as infected persons. So keep the infected persons in one room and put the uninfected person in another room. Alright, so this can be done by removing 8 over here. And remember, it's an equation because of the equal sign. So anything you do on one side, you have to do it on the next. So now we have x squared plus 4x is equal to 8. Alright, so this is good because infected are in one room and our uninfected is in a next room. So therefore no cross-contamination can happen here. So this means we can zoom in on our infected persons. So next step, we're going to try and treat the ones that are not that sick. So we have severely sick and moderately sick, and these persons are not sick none at all. So we're going to try to treat these persons right here. In order to do that, you will have to find half of the coefficient of x here. So you can write back x squared plus your 4x for now plus half the coefficient of our b right here. And ultimately we would have to square that. So once we are doing this, so remember, b, in order to find a new term, because we're trying to treat them, we need to take out a sample out of this. So it's usually half of the original amount. So we take out the sample, half of b is this, and then we square it. But I know you're looking at the fraction and saying, it's a bit complicated, but let me simplify it again. So can write back our x squared just for emphasis, and this is reduced, so it's plus 2. And please note that it's a positive 2. Why? This term that we were looking at, it never had a negative sign in front of it. Therefore, no negative sign will be introduced in this little phrase right here. And we put back our squared and our equal 8. So still we have our uninfected persons over there. When you get to this stage, so remember we need a bracket. A could be a coefficient of 1, and then we need a bracket, a x term plus some number squared. So we're focusing on this side first, alright? So here, the next step is for you to figure out which two numbers or which two terms have the little squared sign on it. So here we have x squared and we have 2 squared. So therefore we can put them in one bracket. Please bear in mind that you only need one. You only need to write it once, and you put your 2. So remember I told you no negative is here, therefore you put down your positive 2. Or another way you can look at it, just use the sign that was directly beside x squared. Alright, so you put that there, you put your squared sign because both of them were squared. Good. So this means now that we have actually finished working with these infected persons. So we got some to be severely sick, some moderately sick, and we took a sample and treated them, and now they're not so sick anymore. And next thing, once we have this means if we were adding 2 squared right here, it means that we also have to add 2 squared over here. So this was the only thing that was introduced to what we originally had up here, right? So if you were following, this was introduced. We treated a sample out of this. So if we treat the sample and now we have new uninfected persons, it means that we can now put them in the room where no one was infected. Alright, so this means that the 8 plus all of the uninfected persons here. So 2 squared is 4. So we have x plus 2 squared. Alright, so I hope you're able to follow. So we started here, severely sick, moderately sick. We need to treat some of the sick persons in order to try and get to, get more people that are not so sick anymore. Once we treat them and we realize that it works, we need to put them in the room where persons that are not infected are present. So that's why we put the plus 4 over here. So it's the same as 2 squared. Next step, once you have this, so this is equal to 12. Alright, so we are one step closer to our final answer. So we have this, but it requires us to put our answer in this form. So a, which could be a coefficient of 1, x plus 8 squared. So we have our x plus a certain number squared, which is good, and a coefficient of 1. But we also need a constant, so that's a special value that has to be directly beside what we have here. So we already have that, so it's only fair for us to bring back the uninfected into our population, and then ultimately we can treat more if we so desire. So we would put back our x plus 2 all squared. We have to minus 12 on this side, and if we do that, so we're getting them out of this room. If we do that, we have to do the same thing over here. So this proves to us that we have completed the square for this question, where it's now in the form a x plus 8 squared plus k. So in this case, plus k is negative 12. So this is how we complete the square. So you'll get your quadratic expression if you're unable to use factorization, but sometimes on the paper they specify which method you're supposed to use. But thank you for making it Mathsis4U, and please let me know if this video assisted you and if there's something else you would like to see.